these politicians now don't have to worry about no assassinations or anything like that.
Right.
And the reason why, I mean, because number one, they are not doing anything effective to scare anybody.
Exactly.
Because they're too busy being
right.
scared themselves to do anything about anybody in the community.
To maintain their position.
Yes.
You know, like say self-motivation a lot of times,
I call them
unfortunately.
low-level entertainment.
Yeah,
okay, I like that.
Everything,
true.
Everything's poll driven.
Uh-huh.
You know, it seems like you got to bow down to the king.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
you know. So when we gonna get back to work? And so the first segment, but what I'm saying to you is, I got some jobs here. All you got to do to be is 18 years old with a high school diploma and a GED, valid driver's license, no, not a felony. Come see me. You call. My number is 313-215-4121. Call me. You got 401k, health, dental, optical, 401k, vacation. At 18 years old and starting off at $35,000, we got 5 young men over 24 and made $100,000 through the overtime.
All right.
I tell them, go make all that money in the short term because you never know when that storm going to come.
That's right.
Put that money away. Go buy your little El Cheapo house.
Okay.
Now, I'm not talking about El Chapo. I'm talking about El Cheapo. Okay? And get one of them houses. Start, you know, and I tell them this, new recruits, leave your community that you grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
And then go fix yourself and then come back and help.
come back.
And then come back and help.
Then come back.
Right. So real briefly, I don't want you know, we got the Trumpster. He done shut down the government and all that other stuff. And I just think the guy is nuts. You know, and I'm not going to, you know, say any cursing words on the gospel station.
Right.
But I want y'all to call in 837-1340. I miss you. Whoever my listening audience, I miss you. I miss my boy Danny, and I'm happy to see Danny. But the bottom line is this country is going in a different direction. It was already going in a different direction, but this guy took it over the hill. He's taking it over the hill with his selfishness, with the guy is not literally there.
Right, I agree.
But whatever happened to make America great?
Yes.
Whatever happened to that? Because right now, America is not looking so great when 800,000 people are not getting their paychecks.
Yes, right.
And most of them, you know, they live from check to check.
Mm-hmm.
So what about this America great? You know, so we need to start really looking deep into, you know, when it's time to cast our votes. We got to be more conscious of who we're voting for.
But we cast a vote in the right direction. Somebody cast a vote in the wrong direction. It wasn't us.
Right.
But I got an interesting statistic. And we did a poll during the election in the Michigan Democratic Black Caucus. We found this out. 33% of the black folks voted for Bill Schuette. 43% voted for John James. 43% voted for the Attorney General. And even the poll before that, 18% of black folks like Donald Trump. That is a true fact.
Yeah,
I can just say my.
Yeah, it's a true fact.
They were enamored with him because here's
on TV,
and this so-called billionaire and so-called, you know, business guy.
Right.
They're enamored with that. Just like those guys, some rap guys who ran with Donald because, you know, he gave him the fake out con man act that, you know, he was the big man on campus because he's the billionaire in New York. He has his real estate. His name is up in lights. So we tend to fall for crap like that.
That's true. No doubt.
No, that's true.
Oh, hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's the perfect bait to take us down.
Somebody told me that, you know, most Negroes, when they don't come from nothing, they just all about trying to be something,
right?
You know, in a false.
Yes.
To my Facebook friends, you know why you can't hear me? Our audio don't jive with our my Facebook page, and so you can listen to my conversation, but you can't hear nobody else. So just bear with us. They try to get the studio right. So just bear with us. We're just gonna talk. You can hear me talking. So then, you know, I was just driving up here, and I said to myself, why do we keep hating on each other? Why do African Americans who've gone through the same things that throughout our history, why do we keep doing that to each other? You know, we get a good candidate, then we run somebody against him because our ideologies don't fit with yours.
Right.
But I thought it was the common objective. Okay? You wear a suit. Look at that brother. That suit don't look good on who he think he is. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
It's all that crabs in the barrel syndrome,
Crabs in
man.
the barrel.
I said,
Self-hate.
what? So why is it? It's why it permeates in our community so much, or maybe it happens in other communities. They don't talk about it, but I see it every day, Daddy.
Because we don't understand prosperity, Keith. We really don't. We don't understand this whole thing about economics. And so economics is not just for white folks.
Right.
Economics is for black folks too.
Yes.
So we don't understand that. And so we tend to run scared, back to your crab in the barrel. So if Brother Craig, if he coming up and got something going on, then there are two that want to knock Brother Craig down.
At
Only
least.
because Brother Craig stood up and shined.
Yeah. So I met
Exactly.
Brother Craig through another friend of mine's, and he's got a book, No Time to Hate. I'm gonna give him some minutes to go over his book. But the bottom line is about this conversation. His grandfather made one of the richest guys back in the South back in the day, man. And I can just imagine all the hate from both sides of the aisle.
Right.
So just tell, Brother Craig, for a few moments, tell us about your father's story, your grandfather's story, and why you wrote that book.
I wrote it was to inspire us, not just African Americans, but Europeans, the world as well. Right. See, because we've been, as I say, hoodwinked, lied to.
Yeah.
And what has occurred, people are far from the truth, and the truth is there is one race, and it's called the human race.
Right.
But there are many people, well, I won't say many, actually it's a select few that are in rule, that rule our community, right, our financial means. So the reason is for separatism, to maintain control. And so they've taught us to hate each other, not only within our race, which is really bad, crabs in the barrel, which I talk about in my book, but they've taught us to hate all of mankind other than ourselves. But we hate ourselves worse than the other people that have effect to us, and it's sad. But it's all a ploy. And there is no doubt in my mind, it's a design. It was designed, and that's what my book talks about. It explains where actually racism began. It has documentation with terms of polygenism, to whereas a society was justified, a religious society was justified in the conquering of lesser races to help them out and to maintain society as they knew it. So there are a lot of reasons behind it, but that's what inspired me, because it's a message of enlightenment, my book. It's a message of truths, and it's also to show that, like on the last show we had, we're not all sad,
Right.
And first of all, back in those days, we didn't have time to hate. We were worried about eating. We were
staying alive.
Staying alive. First of all, we were worried about where they're going to take my wife away from me, where they're going to separate my children.
Right.
Seeing it's a big difference, and Europeans need to know we didn't hate you. We didn't have time to hate you. Now you were taught to fear us and hate us.
Right.
And we need to come together and understand we're in this all together, and see what Mr. Trump did as well. He did the divide. Now there is a good thing that I believe that will come out of that divide, because what is what now, and who is who, where it's no longer in the closets. So that's kind of a good thing.
So
and
God got his mission done.
Oh, he got his mission done. So there is some positive out of that, and we need to start finding positiveness out of everything, and especially in our past, so we can move on to know that we aren't just these downtrodden, individual, sad people. as a race, that we have contributed so much to the world previously, all the way back to the beginning of time to date. And we need to recognize our strengths in order to move on. And we just, once again, understand Europeans and African Americans, there's one race, the human race.
So your grandfather contributed in a mighty, mighty way. And I know he went through some haterade.
Oh, yes. For one example, in the Reconstruction era, because he only served to European white patrons. Okay, but he did that is to get the money. That's who had the money. You know, he was a very compassionate individual. He supplied educational pamphlets to people where we weren't even supposed to read back in those days. He supplied food, clothing, you know, taught them hygiene, the whole thing. So what happened during the Reconstruction era, the first restaurant in Augusta, Georgia, the new rule was they had to serve blacks. And so you couldn't stop that, or you got fined $500 and a couple other things. So the first establishment they went in and challenged was the black man, the Negro, the mulatto's restaurant.
Right.
So the crabs in the barrel, the hate was right there, because that's why he was perplexed. Why didn't you go to all these other European establishments?
Destroy their stuff.
And destroy theirs.
Yeah.
But you came directly to me.
But see, I truly believe, Brother Craig, that those people in power sent those brothers to destroy you.
That's in there too. Right, was it a ploy?
It was a ploy.
Right.
Just like the other day, Danny, I'm at the Charter Commission. It's like everybody fighting against each other, and the people who got the power are controlling the situation.
Right.
Controlling it.
They always bringing confusion in the family.
See, that's it. Confusion. That's divide and conquer. We know that's killed many a nation,
Think about it, man. You know, you back in those days, you try to raise a family. So this is what they do. The confusion is you couldn't, black man could be in the house if the woman was trying to get welfare.
Right.
So that's another ploy, how they separated us from our families.
Right.
So when the Daddy at the top of the hour at 3:30, we're going to talk about this.
Into the 60s and the 80s, the separation.
Yes, we're going to talk about that.
That needs to be discussed.
How do we get our families back? We're going to talk about that at the 3:30 mark. Sure. But the bottom line is this, man. It's the hateration that's been permeating through our communities from eons, man.
Eons. And this book that's why it's called Journal of Enlightenment. You know, it's a must read, because in order to move on, you got to know from whence you came.
Right.
And this explains what it is. So if you have knowledge, you know, of what happened, knowledge is power. Wisdom is infinite. You know, so we have to acquire the knowledge first from what happened and why, and move on from that. And see, we have a tendency to dwell in the past. The past is the past. That's done. We're here now. Like you just said, what can we do now? How can we perpetuate a new thriving society? You know, how can we better each other?
You know, Danny, I just proposed this year, man. We talk about solutions instead of talking about what has happened. Because the bottom line, we can't do nothing about it.
That's done.
It's done.
Why it's called the past.
So how do we get to those kids, the ones that are missing in our community? How do we get? I'm not saying missing from the standpoint they're not getting education, they're not getting, nobody's looking to help them. Those kind of factors. I'm just saying we have to change this concept.
Yes, no doubt.
Well, one of the things is that let's take a step back for a second. There's this letter called the Willie Lynch syndrome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So basically what we really got to do, we have to rebirth the Willie Lynch syndrome letter and educate folks on that.
Yes.
So that now you can find yourself into why are you coming against your brother?
Exactly.
Why are you trying to hold your brother down that looks like you?
It's in the book.
And so basically, I'm just saying that the Willie Lynch, we need to be educated on this Willie Lynch, because guess what? The way you guys are talking and what you're saying, it sounds like the Willie Lynch syndrome is working.
Oh, no doubt. It was designed to work for hundreds of years.
Right. So what I'm saying here is that we need to kind of tap back and educate folks on this letter.
Yes.
So that we can take a step back and look at each other and see what we're doing and why we don't own
why
anything.
we're doing it.
Why we're not buying from each other. Why we don't own
land.
Why we don't treat each other the way your white counterpart treat each other in terms of economics, in terms of doing business with each other. See, that's all embroiled in this Willie Lynch. And so we have to retool and really put that out so people can be educated so they can know what it is. And so because I believe that a lot of folks don't know what this Willie Lynch letter was and is. And basically,
a lot of black people don't even probably know their own history.
No, yeah, and you're right.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that,
and I bet you that they don't even know their own family's history.
They don't. But what I'm saying is that what we find ourselves in this whole circumvent of, y'all talk about crab in the barrel. That's what we find ourselves there.
Daddy,
and don't even know why we're there.
Don't even know.
Daddy, it could be a black clothing store right here, and somebody don't look like us, clothing store. That blacks will go to that person don't look like us.
Right.
That gets back to what you said, that Willie Lynch syndrome, how they have taken our minds and twisted our minds to make us seem like we the devil.
Oh, that's what they said we were.
Yes.
Yes. They did say that.
Yes, they did.
So I just now that I've taken a snapshot at this thing, I'm just saying that I think that we need to put Willie Lynch back out there so people can understand what Willie Lynch was.
But Danny, I look at it like this, man. Is that it bothers you when you can't get support from your own people?
Oh, it does.
No,
it does.
It does. Keith. Listen. Just like we had Lamont on here last Saturday.
Yeah.
Now here's a brother that's bringing the rock and roll, the R&B, rhythm and blues Hall of Fame here, right? Now, the scare factor is from Motown, or he's going to overshadow us. But see, Motown don't understand. His genre is different, but what he's bringing is going to help Motown more than they ever been helped.
Right.
The people that will flow here for rhythm and blues, they'll flow right over to Motown.
That's right.
And so Motown, see, that's what I'm talking about. When we, it's like if you see Church's Chicken, Kentucky Fried, and Popeyes and all those guys, they living in the same block thing there. They don't seem to have a problem.
But
right.
That is true now.
They don't seem to have a problem.
But it's the whole thing. There's no time to hate, and that's what to me is a bigger picture. And there's no time to hate. We got to stop fixing each other, man. We got to work with one another and try to make sure that everybody's prospering. I know maybe I'm just sounding ridiculous.
Right. No, it's enough pie out there for everybody.
Yes.
Everybody doesn't require the whole pie. Some just want a slice.
Right.
Some just happy with the crumbs. Some would just be happy with licking the bowl.
But
see, it's plenty out there for us, but
Brother Craig, that's what we're getting.
Yes.
See, we're scrambling and rushing for the crumbs that's falling off the table from those white counterparts who hold the economic base for 200 years.
Right.
But we're just getting the crumbs. But that Donald Trump base is bad because of people of color are getting the crumbs.
And the sad part of that is we baked the pie.
Right.
We made the crust.
Right. We made all of it. And then we got to wait for what's left over.
So, man, Danny, the Facebook thing is going crazy, man. It's like a pity party. You know what I'm saying? People dogging each other out, talking about each other, stuff like that. It's got to stop.
Listen, that's another distraction.
Another distraction
for African Americans and black people. Another distraction.
Because
it gets us off kilter on the main focus of where we should be focusing at. Our kids getting an education, how we do from an economic standpoint, how we do from a social standpoint in terms of progressing.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, Danny, to
Yes.
me, when it gets back to, as Brother Craig's book said, no time to hate. But the bottom line is, when is this going to stop, Danny? You know, every day a black man is trying to kill another black man.
Right.
Or a sister trying to kill another sister. Instead of us trying to work out our differences and talk to each other, but how can we fix this picture that we have been excluded from? But we go on Facebook talking about each other, calling people stupid, start talking about you not qualified. In God's eyesight, we're all qualified.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one who get the resources.
Right.
This is about resource driven.
Uh-huh.
What we're going through, it will cause the crab in the barrel syndrome because we lack resources.
That's so true.
And so once you get the resources, then we can spread the resource equitably, so we can all have a seat at the table.
Yes, yes, yes.
So,
If I'm making it sense.
So, Brother Craig, talk to us a little bit about No Time to Hate.
Like I say, once again, the whole vision of my great grandfather was to enlighten people, to wake up, to understand, as you were talking about the Willie Lynch syndrome, in which a lot of people, in case you don't know what that was, it was used by a West Indian plantation owner that the American slaves were having trouble with their slaves.
Right.
So he came over and actually gave them a written plan how to keep their slaves in order.
William Lynch.
William Lynch.
Right.
And he did that. His instructions were keep the old fighting against the young, separate the lighter skin from the darker skin.
Right.
And show favor to one and not the other, to constantly keep turmoils amongst our race so that they would not revolt. They would be too busy fighting amongst themselves. And so that's the basis of the William Lynch on that. And then he even wrote it, it's on paper. He said, if you follow these rules, it will last for at least 400 years.
He did say that.
And it's just amazing how accurate he was and how what he implanted into us, we're doing it and we're living it every day. So my great-grandfather, he overheard all these things as well. And that's what's important about this book, because of the William Lynch, these people, while they were writing that, were like in his restaurant. You know, and then he sold cognac, whiskeys, and everything. So under their intoxication, they revealed all this information. He's just sitting up there just sucking all of this in. And so the book literally shares you what we said that we need to know so that we can move on.
Right.
And he just, many a night just shook his head and just cried in dismay or whatever, because he knew this was a sound plan.
Right.
And like, again, when they came in and attacked his restaurant, he was like, oh, my God. Oh, this plan is working already. Here we are. We're free now. Civil War is over and everything. And the first thing they do is come and try to take my black business down.
Right.
So that really blew his mind. And then he knew what he had overheard on these drunken nights of these most powerful people in the world, that this was not, had come to pass, and that was going to be a way of life.
Yeah, that's what happened, Keith, as we're going to talk about it. That's what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with those black businessmen who had business and black business then. What they did was they didn't insure them. Mm-hmm. So they didn't have the insurance, and they knew that. So that's why they went to burn them down. They burned them out, Keith, so they couldn't rebuild. So if you didn't have the insurance, you can't rebuild.
But do you know what the sad thing about that, Danny? When they got back on their feet, they changed the laws on them, the zoning laws.
True. Right.
They changed the zoning laws so they couldn't get back to where they was at before.
Right.
They didn't want us to prosper. Exactly. Okay, so, see, when we look at government, people just think it's about Medicaid and all this other stuff. It's about controlling the structure
Yes.
in your communities through zoning laws, land banking, and all that stuff.
All for a purpose.
All for a purpose.
All for a purpose.
So we get caught up in, oh man, Medicaid, and that is important too. Healthcare is important. But I'm the kind of guy about the economics of the laws and how it keeps us from prospering and helping ourselves out. Instead of us depending on them, they want us to beg to them, and we feel that we can't do any better.
But the thing
you hit it on the head.
Right.
But the thing about it, you and I were there to create the laws.
Yes.
We were there to create the laws that benefited our constituents.
Right.
In our district. And we were there also to basically deal with those laws that were archaic and no longer effective to where we were in society and as a community. So those are the things that when we were there.
Hey, young brother, so this is the deal. We got to keep start thinking about what we need to do and how we're going to do it. And the bottom line is the crab in the barrel syndrome is really destroying us, but we got to stop it. So we're going to take a station break. When we come back, I want to talk about how do we get the family back. And I'm going to use some statistics. Let's have this conversation.
And then we want to see Brother Craig can also tell where they can go and get his book.
Yes.
And if there's an email or is there a website where they can go to get his book.
We'll be right back. My Facebook friends, all we're doing is talking about the crabs in the barrel syndrome.
Hey, Rod Rush, Craig Michael, Yvonne.
Wrong tune, man.
Lucretia.
Okay.
Station break. Be right back.
What is it on that?
He messed up the stall. He says hungry. So yeah, folks, we've been talking about the crabs in the barrel syndrome, the Willie Lynch. Why do we keep bringing each other down and try to instead of lifting each other up? Why do we keep doing this? You know, some folks, yeah, they got it better than others, but it's that those with the responsibility that have been given, they need to come back and reach back and try to help somebody else. That's what we need to be doing. Reach one, get one. But we steady trying to kill each other. Oh, that brother ain't no good. His leadership is bad. That's to me. Daniel Patrick Moynihan said one thing, and it's so true. He said, "You're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts."
Right.
Or something.
Yes, we got too much opinion going on and not enough facts. That's we gonna come right back. Okay, we back and we have in studio Craig Rush. He's got a book, No Time to Hate. We got Danny Wilkerson, me and him partners. We've been doing this for 2 years, and we've worked out the bugs, and we try to send a message to the community. Yes, we can. So I just want to talk about something. I was on Facebook, Keith Williams on Facebook. I saw this statistic, and it says this: in the 1960s. 40% of blacks owned businesses. 87% were two-family households. In the current configuration, currently there's 7% of blacks that own businesses, and 25% of two-family households. My question is, what happened?
That's a huge dip.
That's a huge dip.
That's a huge decline when you look at it.
Well, I have two theories of that.
Okay, go ahead.
You could go with the conspiracy theory,
Right.
or you could go with it was a natural evolution of a culture trying to establish themselves in the new America. So
you said they reconfiguring their thoughts about what a family is and what a business is?
Not that they were They were confused. They didn't know what to do because, for one, they were separating the women in the society. I'll date it. When you get to your dates, and I'll give you the time span when all this occurred. Woman became a double minority, which decreased the employment rate of the black male, and so they meant to meet quotas. That was a factor in there. So guess what? The black woman became the head of the household. And a lot of times she made it known that she was the head of the household right there in public or in front of her kids, which began a downslide of the black male and the head of the household. Then we can go back to the 60s where the Black Panther movement, the Black Power movement.
Right.
Okay, in which, very importantly, J. Edgar Hoover cited that we were communists.
We were public enemy.
Number one. So that goes into the other theory of the conspiracy theory.
And then another one I said on Facebook, the war on drugs.
Nixon
drugs. Created this conspiracy that black folks, they're selling the drugs, they're bringing heroin into the communities and all this stuff. And it was fictitious. They're the only one who could bring the drugs in.
Exactly. We had, like they always said, we had no ships. We had no airplanes.
So I say this to both of you guys, Keith and Craig, and I said it before, and we talked about it before. The bottom line is what they did was they created what they call the think tank.
Okay.
And the think tank, what they've done is studied black people from a social standpoint, from an economic standpoint, and even from a standpoint of how we interact with each other.
Yes.
Okay. And so this think tank, what they've done is they put a plan to push certain public opinion that will cause us to be those various things you talked about, as the woman in the double minority, or they use other minorities who aren't minorities as minorities.
Yes.
And
well.
And not only that, they also push the idea that if we get to just make them consumers, they won't think about anything else.
That's right.
And so the materialistic things will be the first love that they would ever have.
Oh, that's deep. That's
always on.
Yes.
Okay? And so that's why we're nothing but consumers. And we don't own much of anything.
But that's why Carter G. Wood came up with the book Miseducation of the Negro.
Yeah, absolutely. So Keith,
you know what I'm saying? He told how the Europeans' educational system permeated through our lives to control our way of thinking, our consumptions, and all that other stuff to keep us under their control from eons. And what gets back to the Willie Lynch theory.
Right. So all of this distraction that took place. So this is all what took place. But it's back to, I think you and Lamont Robinson was discussing, like, during this past Christmas, close to $1 trillion was spent. But it was spent from the majority of African Americans.
But let me just say this to you, Craig and Danny. When I was talking about a Black Christmas, somebody vilified me on Facebook. I got vilified. I said all through my life, I've been taught about a big white Santa Claus going from house to house at 12 o'clock all around the world. How can that be?
Right.
He had a virtual Toys R Us, okay, a virtual Macy. Okay, how could this be? So when I told him,
he wasn't Jesus.
He wasn't Jesus. And then when I found out Jesus came from a continent where the hair was woolly and the coloration was like us.
That's right.
But we've been hoodwinked throughout our lives that Santa Claus was this big white guy. I ain't mad at him. Okay. He had reindeers pulling thousands and thousands of toys at 12 o'clock and going down a chimney. So a fat man going down a chimney, how could that be?
And a lot of them didn't have chimneys.
He didn't have chimneys.
Right.
How could that be?
Oh.
Well, I'm just saying that where we are today and where we are with that percentile that you just mentioned,
It's sad. 7% of blacks own businesses now. 25% of our, we got 2-family households. Only 25%, Danny.
But think of what I just said.
But then think about this, Danny.
Nothing but consumer.
No, but Danny,
consumer.
Let's take it one at a time. I'm going to take the latter before I take the first.
Right.
The 25%. So the church, where's the church in this? The church in this 25% configuration of two families.
You see, all three of us were silent.
Okay.
All right.
So shouldn't we be promoting marriage?
Yes.
Promoting a proper way of bringing a child into this earth?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We got caught up in this whole thing, the Facebook mentality. Anything goes on social media. Anything goes.
Right.
I remember when I was in school, the young ladies wore them dresses to their knees.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to tell a lady to go back, but there was some demarcation between a brother and a sister. You can go touch one of them sisters back in the day.
That's right.
And then if a sister got pregnant, guess what? She broke her leg. And they sent her down south.
Send her down south.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
But now anything goes. So where's the church? You go to church. I remember when we go to church, when I look at the 60s movement, the brothers wore hats and ties and shirts to church. They come looking like anything in the church now.
Right.
So I'm not against the church.
Right.
But I'm just saying, man has permeated through the church and brought his ways into the church.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, it's not about.
Y'all got quiet about that.
But it's some truth to that. There's a lot of truth to that.
Come as you are, meaning that, come as your heart desire.
I get what you're going, but
not come as, well, I can come and look like anything in the house of the Lord. No, it means come as you are with your heart. Wherever your heart is, even if it's heavy laden, you come to the church.
But when you come, you got to be willing to accept what's getting ready, what's in front of you, too,
Well, see, the decline of attendance prompted that, because what you're saying, that what it's meaning is from the heart, but the lack of attendance prompted churches, ministers to just get people in the house.
Right.
And like say, due to economics, everybody didn't have a tie and a shirt or a suit.
Right.
So they deduced that just come, so that has a lot to do with that too. But in the same token, like you say, it took away structure. It took away pride. It took away a lot by doing so. But I still understand why that came about.
Yeah, I remember when I was coming up, a Cadillac was the golden goose for the pastor. But some of them guys drove Chevys too. And the church was a neighborhood church. You can walk to church. The fundraising too was barbecue dinners and what? Fish dinners. Okay. now they got an ATM machine in the church. They got the what you call the portable where you put your charge cards in.
Right.
Okay, Daddy. And it is not and then the clarion call is, can you put $500 today? Can you do 1,000? So what is that about, man?
It's what tells you to pay your tithes and cheerfully. Yeah. And I agree with that. But then there are a lot of situations. You have these mega churches, people getting evicted, lights turned off.
Yes.
You got airplanes.
Yes.
Riding around in Rolls Royces.
Right.
So that's what I have a little problem with that.
See, my only thing is, what happened to when we spreaded our toys to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
When I had my toys, I shared with my neighbor's kids, okay? And when we shared flour, sugar, and all that other stuff, I'm an old school brother, man.
So am I. Village to raise a child, to raise a family, to raise a community.
Yes.
And when that once again back to one of the theories, because I don't want any black SUVs following me home. This is the theory. But it was one of the theories that, was, to break that up.
Yeah.
To disseminate, just to break that up. And to maintain them, like Brother Wilson was saying, to just be consumers, don't have any other thought but to supply our needs, not the needs of of the black community.
You know, man, I think about my mother. When my mother went to church, she used to have her hat on, dignified in the church. You know, there were many mothers like that. They had their hats on. Mm-hmm. The men had their little stingy brims on, the shirt.
That's right.
They were dignified, man.
Oh, yeah. The pointy toe stations.
Yeah, that's right.
They were head of the community, Keith. They came from different communities, different, black clubs. And so they were pretty much the head of their household and the head of the community.
Yes.
And so they went to church representing.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Because 9 times out of 10, everybody knew Mrs. Williams. And everybody knew Mrs. Rush. Mm-hmm. So they come by way of representation.
Right.
So yeah, they come to the church with their hats and looking like, the with the peacocks and all of that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that I think that we have to deep dive, and we really have to start changing this culture to a certain point where there's a desperate need to retool and to re-educate, not just us, but we have to educate our kids.
Yes, I believe it's the key. Education, that's the key.
We need to be steadfast
One of the keys.
on making sure our kids get educated.
Right.
Making sure that they have the right resources. Making sure that they come into school not hungry, not in despair.
Right.
We have to do all of that. And we have to make sure, we have to really look into that environment where the kid is coming from and see if we can make that environment whole. We have to look and do all of that if we want the success of our young black kids being educated. So we have to do that. And I think that our politicians and our so-called representatives are making a huge mistake when they're being selfish and when they're being just concerned about them.
Right.
And not about making the community whole, not about when we look at improving the quality of life.
Yes.
See, they're making a huge mistake because it falters on our babies getting educated.
But it was interesting. You look at Detroit, 85% black, school system 85% black, teachers are black. So why are we not educating our children?
A lot of times kids don't even have text. So back to money.
Okay, but still.
Resources.
Hold on. But let me say this to you. Black teachers, black administrators, black kids. So why aren't our kids getting educated?
Like,
do we not love one another?
I thought we did.
Hey, because my thing is this, brother Craig.
Okay.
It's a pride factor.
Yes.
You hear what America is saying, that your kids are failing. They create prison systems for our kids. Our kids have no future, but you're black. You've been given much. You've been educated.
Right.
You got resources. So why is that kid not walking out of school every day with some knowledge about life?
That's a good question. That's a very perplexing question. Once again, there's various reasons. One being resources for one, and not only that. Okay, well, I'll give you a good example of good. Well, what LeBron James did in empowering the kids and going back, he made his money but he brought it back.
Right.
Seeing a lot of, and like you're saying, there's so many prominent people that came back. I mean, that made it. But don't come back and invest into their communities. And see, and that's one of the problems. And they start making that money so much, but they're also being manipulated and controlled that in order for them to maintain their wealth, they don't have time to come back and invest into their community. So they've been hoodwinked as well.
So you see, Facebook, I'm trying to get it right. I know a lot of folks are saying they can't hear us. But I'm trying because I got my volume turned up, so I got to check my phone out. But this is the deal. This is bothering me. You walk into the school, black. You go to the classroom, black. You leave the school, back to the neighborhood, black. Why isn't there a continuation or connectivity that keeps prosperity going between exiting and entering?
Well, back to what you're saying again, we need to, the people that make the decisions and get the grants and our political representatives or whatever, what are they doing? That's why they were elected, to help these,
Brother, get Brother Craig. Aretha Franklin, Jasper Williams said, "We lost our soul."
Yeah, you got that right.
The soul.
You got that right.
So the soul was in us through our history, even through Willie Lynch, even through degradation, even through poverty. We still had soul.
Yes, yes.
The music was soul. The hair, the afros, we had soul.
Right.
So what transformed us to run away from us?
Yeah.
Back to the theories.
I ain't trying to get deep.